Alright, down here at the bottom right, we have a player on the team MVP. Lost last game after a huge advantage. We'll see if he can close out the series. He is
MVP King.
there with his Razer headset on. And at the bottom left, we have a yellow Zerg player, a player who played incredibly well last game on the team OGS. Can he close out the series himself? He is.
jookTo.
Barely squeezed that one out. jookTo, man. I saw him in the makeup room. He actually sat next to me when I was about to get my makeup on. I looked at him and he looked at me, and I wasn't sure if he spoke really any English, and he was a little bit stressed, I could tell, and I didn't want to bother him. You know, normally when I see Korean players, especially the top players who are in Code S and you know, are a little bit more well known, a little bit more famous, when I see them, awesome. How do you feel about today's matches? How do you feel about your opponent, your chances? But I saw jookTo and he just looked so stressed, I didn't even want to bother him with it. I was just like, alright, just going to do how he's going to do, not going to bug him. So, this map is pretty huge, by the way. It's one of the relatively new maps of the GSL, where there's a backdoor expansion. As you can see, jookTo taking that expansion now. It's almost a free expansion. You can take it because your opponent can't really pressure you. The natural is relatively open, but you don't have to take your natural. Instead, you can just take your backdoor expansion. Keen did take his gas, though, so it looks like he wants to start with some pressure. He's not going to be going for a fast expand, not a CC first, not even a gasless expand, which you do see Terrans do a lot on this map because it's relatively easy to do. You don't have Zerglings running into your natural because you can take the backdoor expansion. So, but it is a hatchery first for jookTo. Has gotten his gas. Probably going to get speed ASAP just to be prepared for whatever Keen can throw at him. Now back at Keen's base, his gas is starting to get close to that 100 gas to need for a factory. Giving you guys the intense play-by-play. I'm not doing it quite as well as Total Biscuit. I wanted to give him a shout out because I think there are a lot of Total Biscuit haters out there, I feel, but he's an awesome guy, and I just want to give him a shout out because he does a great job and he really loves what he does. Giving Total Biscuit a shout out here at the GSL. Factory going up immediately for Keen. Now, will we see him get a reactor and go into reactor Hellions, which are pretty popular on this map because the map is so big, and the bigger the map is, the more map control you get from units like Speedlings, Hellions, fast units, fast-moving units that can move around, spot units, because not only do the fast-moving units do great at harassment, but they're also really good for vision. You've got them running around the map the entire time, so you always see when your opponent's pushing out. You can see small forces moving out. That's why last game, jookTo had a ton of Speedlings running around the map in the mid-game, and Keen kept sending some small, strong forces, strong enough to snipe a hatchery, kill some drones maybe, but because jookTo had those Zerglings out all over the map, he saw them every time, isolated them, killed them, before MVP Keen could kind of get his forces together and protect his small groups, and that's pretty important. But it looks like instead of Hellions, we're actually going to see a tech lab on this factory. Starport going up very quickly. It could be for Banshees. Can't call it yet, though. Wouldn't be surprised if he still went for pre-igniter Hellions and used the Starport for a drop. In fact, yeah, he's not getting anything at that factory, so it's looking like it's most definitely going to be Banshees. Has started his command center, by the way, at the backdoor expansion. Relatively easy to do, and that's the other cool thing about this map for your Terran players. You can just kind of tech and do whatever you want. If your minerals get high, you can just throw down that command center. Why not? No one's going to come in there and do anything about it. Those Zerglings aren't getting past your wall off. Baneling Nest going down for jookTo. Now again, Baneling Nest, when a lot of casters see Baneling Nest in this, they go, oh, it's a Baneling Nest is going to attack. Not necessarily. It's actually the timing where Keen could attack with a lot of units, and the Baneling Nest need to be there for defensive purposes, so he could try to be aggressive with that Baneling Nest, but more than likely he's just getting it to be defensive. Last game he did try to put some pressure on. It really ended up working out for him. Killed a few SVs and kept the army of Keen down, which is pretty significant. Didn't talk about that enough, I don't think. I just like to talk about everything in all these games. So analytical about my casting. Hopefully not too analytical. Now, that's actually an evolution chamber being made next to that Baneling Nest. Not a second Baneling Nest from jookTo. And actually looks like he's just going to make one Banshee, switch, go into siege tanks, and take his third base with siege mode, maybe do a timing push. Now, the cool thing about this one Banshee is it's not really going to kill that many drones, but it scares jookTo. jookTo's like, oh, I've got my evolution chamber, I should probably make some spore crawlers, because what if he's getting cloaked? What if there are more Banshees coming? What if he's going to port Banshee? It could be all these things, and actually it's just one Banshee, so he's got to do all these preparations. As you can see, he's getting that spore crawler there. And it's actually very, very important to prepare for those Banshees, so when the Banshee comes out, Wow, he's actually taking a ton of damage on that Banshee. Banshee not... Whoa! Like, that's not how you use the Banshee. But anyway, I was just going to say, the Banshee kind of controls the map. You can take his Zelnaga watchtowers with it. And oh, this is actually a totally good opportunity for jookTo to run in here. The Marines can't even get into the bunker. And this is what happens if you don't have a wall up versus a Zerg player. Even the Viking's going to go down. The Zergling's just going to run right into the mineral line, I think, and chase down these SCVs. Doesn't have a ton of units, so you might actually want to just try to target down some add-ons. Trying to chase these SCVs, not doing the best job. The Banshee going to clean everything up. Does see everything, sees the expansion, may try to target down a mule or two. Could have done a lot more, though, with those Zerglings. Actually going to try to make some Banelings back here. Keen does see that, though. He's probably going to target it down. If two of those Banshees hit SCVs, though, it takes two Banelings to kill an SCV and does cancel those at the last second. Whoa. So that was a very unusual situation. You don't ever hardly have that happen. If more Zerglings get in, the game can sometimes end. He just had enough to defend. Banshee came out to help out. Made a second Viking, so the first Viking did go down, but the second one is going to hunt Overlords. Oh! What is with Vikings these days? I swear, they are just not persistent. They're so lazy, they never chase down their Overlords. There he goes. He heard me. That's right, Viking, get back to work. Do what must be done. The Banshee's starting to get the kills up, and that's what I'm talking about with the Banshee out in the middle of the map. Usually, Zerg players like to camp Zerglings around the map, keep them outside your base, see, oh, did you take a third base yet? Are you moving out? But if there's a Banshee there, you can't just leave your Zerglings there, man. The Banshee's going to kill all of them. This Viking is not long for this world if he doesn't get out of there after this Overlord dies. He does look to escape. And, wow, Banshee finding some Zerglings attacking the rocks. That one Banshee in the middle of the map is so good in this mashup to have. Spire is spotted by the Viking. Queen takes him out, though. Engineering Bay finishing up, so should have missile turrets up in time to prepare, or rather you should have those missile turrets up and be prepared for the mutas that are going to be running around. jookTo taking that third base, which is his natural expansion. It's almost weird to call it a natural expansion because most players naturally take the backdoor expansion. But it is called the natural because it's the expansion outside of the main. For those of you guys who don't know what naturals are, it's basically the first normal expansion you'll take in Starcraft 2. It's built into the map as the first base you're supposed to take right outside your main. Now, here come a small amount of mutas trying to do what they can. Looks like thwarted by the turrets. Like I said, they're ready just in time. And when you have just 6 mutas out, which is the normal amount of mutas players make when their Spire finishes, you can scare your opponent, keep him in his base a little bit, but you usually can't do that much damage. This is all just kind of a scare tactic. Kill an SCV where you can, stop the commands there from being made, kill another SCV. You know, kill what you can get away with, but it's not worth trying to do risky things, trying to go all the way for SCV. See, he gets out of there, doesn't even try to risk it because he knows the Marines are going to be there. Now this drop is relatively risky for Keen because the mutas are out on the map. If the drop doesn't do any damage, you lose the drop. It's a lot of units lost, plus a medevac, which is pretty expensive. And here comes that medevac now, going to drop. Marines back at the backdoor expansion. And actually, Zerglings were a little bit out of position. He's going to try to chase those Marines down now. And they should be able to lift up. And that's why you need mutas, because when Zerglings come, he's just going to lift up. But, yeah, he's actually not going to lift because he knows the mutas are there. Does kill a few Lings. Not really getting very many drone kills out of that trade, though. That's why, like I've really tried to harp on, don't medevac harass once the mutas are out. It's usually not worth it. In fact, almost always not worth it. So Keen he's made that third command center. He's had it up for a while. He made it into an orbital, so he's been dropping mules out of it. Doesn't feel safe quite yet to move out on the map, take his third base. And actually, I don't know if we're going to get a shot of it, but 27 Banelings. There they are, 27 Banelings being morphed for jookTo. Getting prepared to be very aggressive here in just a moment. Kind of like he did last game. So when that third base goes up, if he just kind of sneaks those Banelings in, they run in. I actually don't think they have speed. Check that right now. Actually, they do have speed, so they're going to run in there, try to hit some SCVs, maybe break down some of the structures. When you have the economy of 3 bases, you can do things like this to control the map, keep your opponent in his base, make sure he's not hitting you at the time and push. The mutalist count is starting to get a little bit scary, but not quite big enough to where you can sacrifice mutas to take out tech labs, take out reactors, refineries, whatever you can find. More Banelings being morphed, and in fact that's 23 more. That'll put him at about 49 Banelings, almost 50. banelings in this match. That's a lot of banelings. That's, as some would say, so many banelings. Here come those SCVs transferring down now. That's what these banelings have been waiting for. I think banelings with speed look like tires rolling down. Those tires are going to roll down the hill. Trying to do his best to keep those SCVs from mining. He wants to draw the Marines away so the banelings can come in. There are a lot of siege tanks, but I don't know if there are enough. Here come the banelings rolling forward here. A lot of them blowing up on the siege tanks because they're so clumped up, and there are just so many banelings that those SCVs just have no chance. And he may even get the command center if he targets down the command center before it lifts. He's actually just not even going to lift that command center. Keen falling apart here, and there's actually a space for the banelings and the zerglings to come in through the depots. Keen is in so much trouble. jookTo, he doesn't even know what he wants to do with his banelings at this point. He's just going to ignore that Thor, trying to run in and hit some more SCVs, which he will do. Doesn't even have to use banelings. He's like, I'm trying to use my banelings in your base, man. You don't even have any stuff for me to kill with it. And that's that. Looks like it may finally be cleaned up. There are a few mutas in here. As more Marines pop out, though, it looks like maybe he'll hold off. He's still losing more and more SCVs. To give you guys some numbers, 115 supply to 36 supply. Of course, jookTo in the lead, 49 drones to just 20 SCVs. So this extreme hyper 3-base baneling aggression was extremely successful for jookTo. And there were a lot of reasons for that. Mainly the clumped siege tanks, the low siege tank count, and also the fact that that wall up was not a complete wall up. So several banelings and zerglings just ran in for free. And I mean, there's nothing that Keen can do. He's at 6 supply now. He's probably just got his head in his hands in the booth. I'm trying to look over at him right now. I can't actually see him, but he's looking pretty dead. GG. jookTo advances to the round of 16. jookTo, a player whose win rate versus Terran was pretty low, in fact 12%, beating a player who's actually beaten every Zerg player he's encountered in the GSL. MVP Keen got his head on the keyboard. He's very upset with how that series ended up for him. I feel bad for him. I'm a pretty big MVP fan myself. My favorite player is Genius, but I've liked Genius from the beginning, and that's why I'm an MVP fan from the start, just because I like Genius. But I started to like all their players, kind of grew attached to them, and I'm starting to feel a little sad for MVP Keen right now. I'm watching them get a little tear in my eye. He's looking a little bit disappointed, but it's okay. If I remember correctly, he's actually in code S. Currently, let me sit straight in my chair. I've actually got this computer right here is the observer screen, and this computer right here is the in-game screen, so I kind of bounce between the two of them. And I cast, of course, off of this screen because I want to talk about what you guys see. So, like, I'm looking at the screen all the time, but sometimes I'm over here. And when you guys see me on camera, I don't realize I'm about to be on camera. I'm like, well, looking like this. Looks kind of funny. All right, so our next match of the day is actually going to be Trickster versus the Best. I actually wasn't sure he was playing against the Best. Foyu was actually surprisingly made it to the round of 32. I didn't expect him to. He's one of those players that I think had his prime and hasn't really improved. I don't want to say that he's bad and he got worse, but there are a lot of players out there right now that kind of did kind of well. It got pretty good in the GSL, and then sort of, you know, they stopped improving and everyone around them was improving, and a lot of new faces came in and they kind of struggled. And I feel like the Best is one of those guys. But we'll see how we can do against Trickster, formerly known as SKS Tester Sakisu, a man of many IDs. So he's all over the place with his names. The first map is going to be Crossfire, I believe. So we'll find out in just a second. For that, for sure. Because I'm not going to look at my screen. I'm just going to look at the camera. I know it's a little bit weird, a little bit awkward maybe for some people watching me on the camera by myself. Because I don't have a co-commentator. Just talk to you guys. Just keep talking. But it's okay. It's my first day doing this, and I expected it to be a lot harder than it actually is. Not really that hard at all. Just sitting here talking to you guys. We're having a chat. I can hear you guys actually use the Force. You know, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Just kind of hear voices in my head. Sometimes it's annoying when I sleep. But we're actually going to have an interview here, and I can't actually hear my producers in the ear, so I have no idea what they're saying. So hopefully they fix my sound issue, because I can't hear them at all.
네, 그 첫 번째 경기에서 이제 황규석 선수에게 패하고 이후에
So we may not have a translation for this interview. I'm sorry,
가장
guys.
힘들었던 순간이 언제였나요?
1경기 지는 순간이요.
아,
왜냐면
2경기 때, 예.
1경기요.
1경기요, 네.
1경기를 이겨야 너무 좀 쉽게 갈 수 있을 것 같았는데 1경기부터 져가지고 좀 안 좋았어요.
자, 그래도 결국에는 16강에 진출하게 됐고요. 자, 이제는 김동원 선수 막강한 테란이 또 준비되어 있습니다.
네.
앞으로 이제 김동원 선수를 맞이해서 어떻게 전략적인 승부를 띄우실 건지 말씀해 주십시오.
먼저 슬레이어스 테란이라서 의료선 좀 잘 쓸 것 같은데 그쪽 의료선 막는 중심으로 연습 잘 해야죠.
네. 자, 마지막으로 이제 조만혁 선수가 앞으로의 선전을 기원하는 팬들이 많이 있어요. 그 팬들에게 한마디 부탁드리겠습니다.
정말 성적이 계속 안 좋았었는데
네.
그 저를 응원해 주시는 분들이 꽤 있긴 있거든요. 그분들에게 되게 감사하고 앞으로도 더 좋은 성적 내도록 하겠습니다.
네, 앞으로의
He says
선전을
thanks to my
기대하겠습니다.
fans for
네,
supporting
이상
him.
조만혁 선수를 만나봤습니다. 이남 캐스터 나와주세요.
All right.
네, 자 조만혁
That's it.
선수가
Thank
이제
you.
1세트를
So,
내주면서 이제 2,
Turns
3세트를
out
내리잡았습니다.
the wrong headset on the entire time,
했는데 어떻게
and
보면
I couldn't hear the producers talking to me, so that's why he came out of the round like, put the other headset on. So sorry that interview, most of it wasn't translated.
네,
My bad. Yes, I can hear you. Bruce is like, can you hear me now? Like those Verizon commercials. Supposed to say good after I say yes. But anyway, that's it. I think we're gonna have a 2-minute break here in just a second, as is custom between these sets.
오히려 위기를 더 기회로
So-
만든 아주 모범적인 케이스가 되고
Oh, not yet
자, 그럼
actually.
경기력을
Not quite.
16강까지 쭉 이어서 더
In a minute,
8강,
we'll have a
4강
2-minute
올라갈
break.
수 있는 조만혁 선수.
So that was a really unusual series, and I think that Keen, I'm kind of surprised he wasn't able to take that one, but just wasn't really prepared for jookTo's crazy aggression. He was just all over the place with those banelings. And jookTo, I want to note that he actually did a really good job of hiding those banelings when he was attacking. Whenever he was about to attack, he just hid those banelings with his zerglings, and the scouts couldn't see it. All right, 2-minute break. It's really happening this time.